Tony D and Little Jones somewhere in the background, and this is a screenwriter's rant on Maximum Truth, a movie about, well, I think it's supposed to be a political satire, definitely a comedy, about a guy who's like a political fixer, but he's terrible at his job. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 11 available at Amazon.com. And if you like political satire, check out Wokistan, a novel, and Hollywoke, another novel. You may remember this guy. I remember him from Mad TV. He's pretty funny. He used to remind me a little bit of Mark Wahlberg, only like a comedic version. This is from the History of the World Part 2 writers. I don't know if that's such a great credit to throw out there, but I mean, you're trying. I'll say that, you're trying. So the premise of the movie is he gets hired. It's like a documentary office kind of thing. He gets hired by this woman because she's a crazy millionaire that wants to see this guy, smeared. She thinks he's a demon. I don't know if she believes that, or she's either crazy or whatever, or she's just super religious or whatever. So this is his partner in crime. I don't know. He worked with him before, and they're looking for dirt so he doesn't win the election. And there's a lot of comedic actors. This guy you may remember from What We Do in the Shadows. He plays like the energy vampire. First there's a sex tape, but it turns out to be completely fake. Uncle Blazer's in it too. He's the guy with the sex tape. This guy calls them idiots. I mean, it looks fun. But I will say, it looks, again, one-sided. It looks like the Democrats are the good guys and the reasonable people, and they're mostly working for crazy Republicans and gun nuts. Anyhow, June 23rd, in theaters and on demand. There's Blake Anderson, Uncle Blazer from Workaholics is in it. Ike Barinholtz, Dylan O'Brien. I forget the name of the guy from Mad TV. I guess it would be Ike, because he's got the top billing and he's the main character in the thing. Oh, it's written by Ike and David Stassen, and directed by David Stassen. Okay. So I think this can be funny. I think it'll mostly be funny for people on, if I'm guessing, mostly people on the left side of politics. Look, so this is a real tough needle to thread, unless you go for the jugular. And in comedy, you really should go for the jugular. Okay? You've got to know who the guys are to punch up. The guys in power now are the neoliberals. Okay? I don't know what to tell you if you don't believe that. I mean, don't even bother to say anything in the comments. At this point, if you can't see that, if you can't see who's in charge, I mean, you're just, stop watching TV. It's just tiresome trying to explain it over and over again. So yeah, you can make fun of Republicans. They have fun stuff to make fun of, but at this point, it's so tiresome because you got people on the left who make fun of Republicans all the damn time. Where are the guys who make fun of the Democrats? And I don't mean the fun like Jon Stewart back in the day used to make fun of Democrats. The running gag was they snatch a defeat from the jaws of victory, right? Because they're Democrats and they screw up. And John would be like, and the audience would laugh. But that's like good old fun. That's not like really skewering them, in my view, in satire. Now, maybe they try to thread the needle here and say, well, she could be a Democrat and he could be a Republican, and we never mention the parties. Probably. But one of his clients is a gun guy, and the gun goes off in the trailer, so who's that tell you who he is? This woman has tons of money. Typically in Hollywood, that only means one party. So I'm not saying the movie's not going to be funny. I mean, Uncle Blazer's in it, and I assume his scene is hilarious. And he's pretty funny too. And I'm sure it will be a nice send up of, dirty politics. But the only way, in my mind, that this works is if you go after the people in power and you go after their sacred cows. And what is their sacred cow? Well, did you see the White House this week? The sacred cow is the pride flag. Absolutely 100%. That is the sacred cow. That pride flag right now. CRT, all that stuff. It's the sacred cows. And you have to go after them. And that's exactly what we did in Wokistan, a novel, and Hollywoke, another novel. We went after them because that's the target now. And to ignore, you can keep ignoring it. You can keep pretending that it doesn't exist. And this will still be a funny bit about a guy who, they steal his soda. It's not the biting satire you need. You need to go for the jugular in this kind of comedy. And it has to be based in reality. If you ignore part of reality, especially in politics, who's this for? Well, okay. It's for all the Democrats. No, we're going to laugh at the Republicans again. Well, they've got tons of that material. Literally everything that comes out, just about. So you're not taking any risk. What would be a risk in this movie? For instance, I'll just pitch a scene where, let's say, this character accidentally lights a pride flag on fire and it goes up like that, and then and then someone takes a picture and it ends up in the front of, or the video ends up like in the front of Newsweek or ever, and it's a disaster for him. That would be funny because you could see that reaction, right? You could see that happening. Like, oh, we were supposed to, provide all this deference to the pride flag, and he actually is, let's say, a Democrat that he's working for, and he actually wanted to do something nice, but he wasn't careful with a candle or something, and whoosh, it goes right up, and he bought the cheapest flag he could buy from, say, like China, and it went up like nothing. That would be a funny scene. That would be skewering the sacred cow. Are you going to see this in the movie? I would bet money not. Just from this trailer. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the characters works for a Democrat and they really go after him. Or maybe they go after both sides equally. Things are very unequal now. Sure, you can go after both sides equally, whatever that means. But if you use the same tired political tropes as the basis, sort of the baseline for the reality, the comedy's just not going to be biting. You have to go after something. Like right now, what's hot? Well, the boycotts of Target and Bud Light. Now, that probably happened too late to get in this movie. So something maybe right before that. How about Biden bumbling and mumbling his way through speeches? You could certainly put in a guy like that. Even if it wasn't Biden, right? You'd have, I don't know, one of the candidates. And he's so old. Like Biden. And he's obviously supposed to represent Biden. Now, would Hollywood greenlight that movie? Absolutely not. I don't think. If they had balls, they would. And it would be funny. And people would like it. And I think Democrats could laugh at that too. Because Biden is old. But this looks one-sided to me. So, first act. And this is done in that documentary style, right? So, first act. He's a political consultant, and he's obviously very sleazy. He's lying through his teeth from the moment you see him. And he's desperate for money. He takes on a job from a crazy client who thinks the candidate's a demon. He doesn't care. He wants the money. He figures, well, I'll find something else that's wrong with the guy. Second act, he takes you along in his world, how he does it. He recruits his friend, who's some sort of, I don't know, some other sketchy guy who did some scam with Chipotle or something, and maybe he's one of his ex-clients, because I think he's a lawyer, or maybe pretends to be a lawyer, I don't know. And so together they start looking for dirt on this guy, and then the obvious running gag would be the guy's squeaky clean, they can't find anything. So they end up meeting all these characters that claim to have stuff on them, but it's obviously fake. So Blazer shows them an obviously fake video. The bald guy from What We Do in the Shadows claims to be the guy in the video. Maybe he really is, but it's obvious that the person they're trying to smear wasn't there, and it just gets worse from there. So if you pursue that comedic line, the guy they're trying to smear is genuinely honest, and the smears against him get crazier and crazier and crazier, and these guys are so incompetent and so desperate, they eventually end up getting arrested probably and going to jail, and then having to justify their ridiculous actions. That's part of the shtick for a movie like this. That would probably be the climax. The climax is probably the election, and he wins in a landslide, mostly because these guys tried to smear him, and all they did was make his poll numbers go up. But the subtext, I think, is the person who tried to smear him, they don't say it, but he's probably a Republican, and the guy was a nice Democrat who just wanted to help people, and he's obviously totally innocent. That's my call. I don't know if it's true. I would say, if it is true, this movie will just sort of come and go. And we desperately need comedies. And there's one rule in comedy. It has to be funny. Has to be funny. You have to do something that punches up, skewers the sacred cows. I'm not seeing the sacred cows here. Not in politics. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan somewhere in the house. Thanks for tuning in today. I will be at the Philadelphia Comic Book Show this Sunday in Essington, PA, from 10 to 4 on Father's Day. And then I'll be back live with the live stream and back tomorrow with more videos. Thanks for tuning in today. We'll see you